The internet is a graveyard of fallen idols, but rarely does a rumor of a literal death spread with such ferocious speed. On November 9th, Chinese social media platforms like Weibo were utterly consumed by a single staggering claim that disgraced former EXO superstar Kris Wu had died in prison. This wasn't a slow-burning theory, it was a digital explosion. Within hours, the hashtag Kris Wu was trending with millions of views, filled with a chaotic mix of panic, skepticism, and macabre curiosity. The source was traced to a major Chinese entertainment blogger who alleged that Wu, who was serving a 13-year sentence for rape, had been refusing food, that his health had taken a drastic and irreversible turn for the worse, a decline so severe that it reportedly culminated in his death. The news spread so rapidly and felt so shocking precisely because it concerned a man who had vanished from the public eye. His current state, a complete mystery, making the vacuum of information the perfect breeding ground for the most extreme of speculations. To truly grasp the magnitude of this moment, we must re-examine the depth of his fall. Kris Wu's journey from pinnacle to pit is one of the most dramatic in modern entertainment history. After his departure from EXO, he wasn't just a star in China, he was an empire. He ruled music charts, blockbuster films, and the high fashion world, embodying a level of success that seemed untouchable. His persona was that of a cool, aloof, and almost untouchable prince. But that entire facade was obliterated in the summer of 2021. It began when the influencer Meizhu went public with detailed, horrifying accusations. She claimed that Wu and his team had a systematic operation for luring young, often underage fans to private drinking parties. There, she alleged the women were pressured to consume excessive alcohol until they were incapacitated and assaulted. The initial response from Wu's camp was one of absolute denial, even threatening legal action against Meizhu. But then, something unprecedented happened. More and more women began to come forward, sharing similar stories and even presenting what appeared to be credible evidence, including screenshots of conversations with Wu's team arranging these meetings. This wasn't a single accuser. It was a pattern, a chorus of voices that collectively broke the wall of silence. The court of public opinion in China turned against him with a force that was breathtaking to witness. This was no longer just a celebrity scandal. It became a societal flashpoint, a symbol of the abuse of power and the exploitation of fans. The Chinese Communist Party's media apparatus, including powerful outlets like People's Daily, took note of the public fury and began to comment, framing the case as a moral failure that needed to be rectified. This official attention signaled the point of no return. The brands that had paid him millions dropped him overnight. His music and films were scrubbed from the internet as if he never existed. It was a digital execution, a total erasure from the industry he once dominated. The wheels of justice turned with a swift and unyielding finality, leaving no room for the spectacle of his former life. In November 2022, the Beijing Chaoyang People's Court delivered its verdict. Kris Wu was found guilty of the rape of 3 women and the crime of assembling a crowd for the crime of assembling a group to engage in illicit sexual activities, a conviction that contributed to his comprehensive 13-year prison term. The court was explicit, stating he had taken advantage of women who were intoxicated and unable to resist. Furthermore, the judge ordered that upon the completion of his sentence, he would be deported from China, a final humiliating blow to the Canadian-born star who had built his life there. This verdict was more than a legal ruling. It was a societal catharsis. For his victims and his detractors, it was justice. For his fans, it was the devastating final chapter. And then he disappeared. The Chinese prison system is notoriously opaque, and for a celebrity inmate of his profile, the silence was absolute. The only crack in that silence appeared in April of this year when a Beijing lawyer provided a rare and unsettling update. The lawyer claimed Wu had been transferred to the Chaoyang Detention Center and was being held under special inmate protocols. This meant he was constantly monitored, made to wear a hood during any meetings to prevent communication or recognition, and his access to the outside world was virtually zero. This image, the vain, fashion-obsessed star now rendered anonymous, hooded, and isolated, was powerfully symbolic. It painted a picture of a man completely broken, living in a state of extreme control and solitude. This report, while brief, was the last confirmed piece of information about his well-being, and it set a very dark stage for the death rumors that would emerge 7 months later. When the rumor of his death exploded in November, its virulence was fueled by this very lack of information. The initial post from the entertainment blogger blogger didn't just state he had died, it provided a narrative claiming he had been on a prolonged hunger strike, that his health had been failing for some time, and that this had culminated in his death. This specific detail made the story feel more credible to many. People began to ask logical yet grim questions. How could a special inmate under 24/7 surveillance be allowed to starve himself to death? Wouldn't the authorities force-feed him? This inconsistency became a central point of debate. Some speculated that the hunger strike could have been a form of protest or a symptom of severe mental deterioration, perhaps depression or psychosis, brought on by the conditions of his imprisonment and his fall from grace. The public's reaction was a fascinating split. On one side, skepticism was fierce and logical. Many netizens immediately pointed out that if a figure as globally known as Kris Wu had actually died in state custody, it would be a massive international incident. The authorities would be legally and politically compelled to issue a statement, especially to the Canadian embassy, as Wu is a Canadian citizen. The continued silence from the Chaoyang Police Department and the complete lack of any official confirmation from any government channel was, for this group, proof positive that the rumor was a hoax. They argued that the earlier reports of him being healthy and even gaining weight in prison were more likely to be accurate, suggesting the death rumor was started by either a malicious troll or a desperate fan creating a final, dramatic narrative for their fallen idol. On the other side, however, was a group that believed the rumor was not just plausible, but likely. They pointed to China's history of managing sensitive information, especially regarding high-profile prisoners. The case of actor and singer Zhang Yang was frequently cited. He was executed for a contract murder, but the news was only confirmed months after the fact. This precedent created a belief that the state controls the narrative on its own timetable, and that the truth about Wu could be suppressed indefinitely or released only when it was deemed politically convenient. For them, the sheer scale of the rumor and the fact that semi-reputable news outlets felt the need to report on the existence of the rumor suggested that there was smoke and therefore likely fire. This entire saga, from global icon to convicted rapist to a subject of a death rumor, forces a grim reflection on the nature of modern celebrity and justice. Kris Wu became a canvas onto which society projected its fantasies of fame and beauty, and later its rage against patriarchal abuse and impunity. His story is a brutal lesson in the volatility of fame in the digital age, particularly within the tightly controlled cultural landscape of China, where the state can both create and destroy idols. It highlights the perils of immense power without accountability and the dark, often unseen consequences that follow a very public downfall. So where is the truth? As of now, it remains locked away, hidden behind the high walls of a Chinese prison. The world may never get a straightforward answer. The fate of Kris Wu hangs in a limbo of silence, a haunting, unanswered question that serves as a permanent, dark footnote in the history of celebrity culture, a reminder that sometimes the most dramatic fall is followed by the most profound and unsettling silence.